Hello and welcome to Fin24. Do you know what RIFS are? With us in studio, we have Tristan Naidoo, the legal advisor from Old Mutual Personal Finance. Welcome, Tristan. And Tristan is going to explain to us and tell us a little bit more about the phenomenon and the species called RIFS. Off to you, Tristan. What are RIFS?
Thanks, Ms. Shuka. RIFS are the recently independent but financially strapped individuals. These individuals are your older type millennials, and the reason for them placed into this category is as a result of them leaving home, but leaving home at a time where the economic climate is quite tough, and they start to feel this. As I've said, they are your older millennials, so you're looking at an average age gap of about 29, and their earning capacity averages about 19,000 Rand per month. The stats have revealed that 72% of RIFs have at least some sort of post-matric qualification. Furthermore, that 88% of them own their own vehicle.
Yeah, that does seem to lead to a level of stability.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. When it comes to stability and financial independence, though, the stats have also revealed that 17% of them still rely on their parents financially, and that 50% of them kind of boomerang in and out of the parental homestead, and that's probably as a result of them trying to feel out independence for the first time and realizing that the climate out there is quite tough and having to move back in just to feel their way around. As a direct result, we've also found that 1 in 3 RIFs hold on more than one job to try and boost their income, and furthermore 4 out of 5 of them share accommodation to help with the load of the accommodation expenses.
Getting to the accommodation, I see that the research shows that 57% of RIFs own their own property, with 44% owning solely in their name and 13% jointly. Of this, 80% have bought their home with the help of a home loan. So this to me points to how important access to credit is, specifically for these RIFs, and also how important saving is, because obviously with a home loan, very often you need quite a large deposit. So it's very important for this, within the space, to be saving. Do you find that RIFs are good at saving?
It's a very good point to make, Ms. Fika. I'll first touch upon the savings aspect of it and the habits that we've identified, and that being that 63% of RIFs have indicated that they are actively saving and investing.
That's very good. I mean, if you look at what it was 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't think that people within that age bracket, or where you've just newly moved out of your parents' home, you've just started your first job, are actively saving. 10 years ago, that was not what we were seeing.
No, it's a complete mind shift. When I read the survey results, I wasn't too sure whether I was reading the right results, because it's been such a massive departure of what we know of a younger type of generation. What was also encouraging was to see that they've prioritized longer-term planning, as we see more than half of them investing into banked cash savings or into retirement annuities, which is your longer-term.
That's longer-term. So what you're saying is that RIFs are actually saving to invest.
Precisely, precisely. There have even been surveys results to show that 1 out of 5 of the RIFs are investing in unit trusts and shares, which are slightly more complex, but they're willing to venture into the market and explore the savings culture. Now, this is the general trends that we've picked up, but I think it's important to note that any type of saving is important, and it was very encouraging to see that they are actually prioritizing saving and make it important and seeing the importance that it has on their overall financial well-being.
I actually also like the statistic that shows that 31% are saving for unforeseen circumstances.
Precisely.
And unforeseen expenses. I mean, that's unheard of. Again, talking about 10, 15 years ago, that's a definite mindset change.
That's a complete shift in culture. If you think about that specific reason on its own, I think some of the other stats also show that they're just saving for a rainy day. That is risk mitigation 101 over there. And that's not something that was drilled into them. This is just a habit, a culture that they've developed over time. And it's extremely pleasing to see.
That is a very, very pleasing habit to have. As somebody in the financial sector, this is what we've been striving for a very long time. to get a culture of saving in South Africa? And we seem to be getting there.
Yes, we do. Part of those stats reveal that they're also saving to purchase immovable property. And as a result of that, there's going to be some sort of reliance on access to credit. And where that's concerned, for RIFS, I would encourage them to keep the basic when it comes to credits, and that is know what your credit record is and ensure that you maintain a healthy credit score, as it's that credit score that's going to make their access to credit in the future a lot more easier.
And staying within that good credit record and credit score, the expenditure of the RIFs play a huge role in that. Have you been able to see what the top expenses are for RIFs?
In terms of the general patterns that we've identified, I think the one key thing that jumps out at you immediately is that for RIFs, independence is key. Absolute key. And with that comes this immense responsibility that they have around money matters. If you converse with anybody that falls into this category, you'll soon understand that the word planning features quite prominently. And it's this positive, responsible attitude that they have that is actually helping the general South African culture shift away from that poisonous, impulsive habit to a more cautious, methodical spending approach.
One thing that again comes to the fore is that the biggest challenge that RIFs seemingly face is keeping up with the costs when they move out. And like you alluded to earlier, there are very many RIFs who have to have more than one job to support themselves.
Yes.
What would you advise? How would you advise RIFs to better plan for that phase of their lives?
It's an interesting question, and I think before I start dishing out tips, I think it's important to acknowledge that there is a very good culture that already exists for RIFs. As a result of them falling into that category, we also need to acknowledge that they feel the pinch like every other consumer. If we looked across their spending profile and what they've indicated to be their biggest expenses to be, it's your necessities. It's your medical aid, it's your car insurance, your groceries, your electricity, and unsurprisingly, due to all of the hikes that we've seen more recently, the biggest item or expenses that they are struggling with is fuel and transport. But notwithstanding their good base and their already good habits that they've identified, there is no harm in improving on their financial savviness and using online money learning platforms such as Money University or Moneyversity, as this improves and helps them to identify those sound financial management components, such as drawing up a budget.
Basic, but so needed.
So needed. And when it comes to drawing up a budget and monitoring expenses, these apps, mobile apps such as 24/7, is such a fantastic tool, as it actually helps the RIFs to track their expenses. And what that does is it helps him to look at the expenses from an overall perspective, and it helps him to pick up those gaps and any other opportunities that they can identify to eradicate any unnecessary expenditure.
Tristan, do you have any closing points on this RIF session? What would you suggest RIFs really do in terms of financial planning?
As mentioned, they have a really good sound basis. However, I cannot stress the importance on them enlisting the services of an accredited financial planner, because yes, they do have a sound basis. But what the financial planner will help him do is to look at their savings and look at their habits and have them applied from an holistic point of view, to ensure that as a result of a specified focus on any particular item, that they're not unwittingly neglecting something else that is equally important on their overall financial affairs.
And you can only see that once you sit down with somebody that's actually qualified to be able to point those things out.
Exactly. And as a result of RIFs being RIFs and commencing the era of independence in an uncertain, in a turmoil economic climate, that financial planner has all of the tools and is equipped to guide the RIF out of those climatic waters and to bring them safely over to the other side.
Thank you, Tristan. Now we at Fin24 also know what RIFs are.